For the Ghost Surreal segment this week, I'm going to continue with the gossip show. Perfect way to end 2020, if you ask me. And not normally a gossipy person, but I had to get these out. And this is the meat and potatoes right here. I'm going to include this as well, a couple of ghostly experiences, air quotes again, and one real one. So this revolves around a TV show. It was actually one of the first major ones. I think it was the first major one that I ever did. Now, by major, I mean on a well-known TV station. It was on the Space Channel. Don't know if it's still well-known, but back then it was. And it was called Ghost Hunting 101. Now, from what I remember, this was a show that was like a series, and it was basically how to investigate a location. And I was brought on as one of the consultants as an investigator for the show. So the producers, right from the beginning, now we had signed the contract earlier, and we were kind of like set to do this. I mean, our reputation, you can't just not show up. But I remember the funny thing is we were driving out to the first location, which was the Custom House, a very haunted place here in Hamilton. And I remember feeling a little bit hesitant. I wouldn't call myself a psychic in any way, but it was strange. I was like, I wanted to turn the car around. I wanted to just go. I was like, it didn't feel right to be doing this. Nothing terrible came out of it, but my instincts were quite right. So we show up at the Custom House, and I remember being hesitant because the producers were kind of joking around. And I remember overhearing them joking around about a couple of the ghost stories, and they would laugh about it. So, like, this laughing as in it couldn't be true. So they were making fun of it. And I didn't really fully know until we were in the basement. Now, it was myself, my partner at the time, the psychic that they brought in had nothing to do with us. We just met that woman for the first time that night. And we're in the basement with the two producers, two guys. And the psychic, it was her time in the basement room, not the vault, but across the hall. It's like a meeting room at the time. She's sitting at the table talking about the energies that are swirling around her. And I'm watching it. I'm like, how is anybody believing this stuff? Because I was looking at it, it didn't seem right. I mean, the faces she was making, the way she was talking, it's kind of like what you would see in a really overdramatic horror movie. So I'm watching it, and that just gave me the wrong feeling. The way the producers were kind of like they were outside of the room just kind of chatting and joking around. The cameraman was filming that. So after that was done, they say cut. I was standing in the room I had an EMF detector, and I was just trying to scan to see if there was anything. I knew there was nothing. I mean, I knew the stuff this psychic was talking about wasn't actually occurring. And the EMF was quiet. It would stay at zero unless you put it towards pipes or electricity, of course, which I avoided. So as I'm doing this, one of the producers walks in, and he's holding these boots. Now, if anybody took the Custom House tour, you would have remembered the boots. They were in the basement, and they were legitimately something unique. That, over the history of this place since they found them after the building was abandoned, so approximately the late 80s, 1990s, the boots were legendary in the sense that nobody wanted to touch them. So they left them in the stairway room in the basement, under the stairs, perfect location for a haunted artifact. And there was one experience where the manager actually touched the boots just as a joke. Her friend was egging her on, and a chain link fence that was leaning against the wall fell against her, and she ran out of the building. But the boots always had that feel about them. So here's the producer walking into the room holding the boots, and the first time I looked down at the boots, I look at him like, "What are you doing, buddy?" I didn't say it, but on the inside, I was like, "What the hell, man?" He comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, is there something to do with these boots?" So I told him. I gave him the story, and he's like, "Oh," and he took them and he threw them on the table, and I'll never forget this. He threw them on the table and jokingly just kind of said in a bit of a douchey voice, he was like, "Oh, maybe they'll think the Dark Lady moved them." I didn't laugh. And I'm laughing now. But at the time, I didn't laugh. At the time, I was kind of horrified. So I just kind of shrugged it off, and we moved on to the next location. Now, as a funny little side note, the CH Morning Live. No, it wasn't CH Morning Live. It was CH News. This is a local station. CH is in Hamilton. And they were doing a segment. It was close to Halloween. This was right after we had filmed, which they filmed it close to Halloween. And I was watching it. I forget where I was. But I was watching the segment, and I can see them in the custom house basement. I'm like, uh-oh. I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. And I was screaming at the screen. And thankfully, there was nobody around. So I was like, don't do it. And where are they? They're in that meeting room, and the cameraman is turning towards the table. I was like, oh, here we go. And the caption underneath the thing is, did the Dark Lady move him? So I'll give that to the producer. Little bit douchey, very much making fun of real paranormal experiences, but he was right when it comes to what the news would be interested in, because there was the boot on the table. Did the Dark Lady move it? But that's not the real experience that I wanted to bring up on this segment. The next location that we went to was the Hermitage. So the Hermitage Ruins, which is in Ancaster. And don't know if you're not from Hamilton. Ancaster is a small town that's technically part of the city of Hamilton, but it is much more. It is historically significant for Ontario in general. It is one of the 3 oldest communities in Ontario. Only Kingston and Niagara-on-the-Lake are older. So very much history, very much ghosts. And for this, the Hermitage is the ruins of an old 1850s mansion that is currently out in the middle of the Dundas Valley Forest. So we were heading out there. We parked in the parking lot and walked the equipment out. It was myself, the producers, and my ex-partner, and the psychic. Psychic came with us as well. So we're at the ruins, and we weren't really being featured much, myself and my ex-partner. We were kind of off to the side, just doing our own thing. They were mostly focusing in on this psychic, and I can understand why. I mean, she was very dramatic and kind of interesting to watch. For me, it wasn't in a good way. I'm sure other people enjoyed it. So they were up at the house, and we were down at the laundry/ice house building. If you don't know, if you've been on the ghost walk that we do there, this is where we tell the story, the legend of William Black. That's the stage we use. It's the largest ruins in the back. And we were behind the window frame where it is said William Black sometimes appears. Now, I was holding the EMF detector. And you got to know, I mean, we're in the middle of the forest. In this case, there's no water pipes. There's no electricity. There's nothing that can cause the EMF to spike. We're just in the middle of the forest. And as I'm standing back there, completely off camera, it spiked. So it went from 0 to the full, I believe it's 10. And it stayed there for a few seconds. I counted it out. Maybe 5, 6, 7 seconds. And then went back to 0 again. So we're standing there in silence, kind of just staring at each other, staring at the EMF. And a couple minutes, I hear them yell cut from up at the house. Now they're walking down with the psychic to start filming down in that area. And you would think, as the investigator, that I would tell the producers. I would say, hey, buddy, guess what? Something real happened. I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Just from the sense that I kind of kept this one to myself, although I am telling it now. But that it wasn't featured on the show. I mean, that I didn't get out to the world. And I apologize to the people who watched that show. And I apologize to William Black, who probably wanted me to say something to the producers. But, I mean, if he really wanted me to do it, he could have possessed me. Just kidding. That's not possible. But, I mean, he could have tried. At least tried. Just saying. But, the producers came down with the psychic. I didn't say anything. Surprisingly, the psychic didn't know that any of that happened. I left it alone. Now, I've since told it to many people, and now I'm telling it to you. That was the real experience that happened on that night. The EVP spiked in a corner that it couldn't, a corner well known for having the ghost of the legendary William Black. Now, I don't know if this show's online. If it is, please do send me a link. I tried looking originally, but I think there's another show with the same name. Or maybe it's the same show, but I just couldn't find the episode that it featured. That was way back in the day. I'm going to say 2005, 2006 maybe, give or take. If anybody finds it, do message it to me. You can send it to me by email at ggdaniel@ghostwalks.com or through Facebook at Ghost Guy Daniel. Just search it.